Right now, I'm working on a project on facial recognition and face reading. So everyone kind of nowadays know about facial recognition unless you're living underneath a rock. But face reading, you might not know. Do you know? Actually, if you said you were going to Hong Kong, so you probably will get a chance. So face reading is mostly popular in East Asia. It's an esoteric practice of reading someone's faces and telling their future. So it's
I've seen. I mean, in I didn't know it was a big thing in Asia. I know
yeah,
that in Europe back in the days, like
yeah,
a century ago, it was
yeah.
very popular.
Yes.
But it's a pseudoscience, and
It's a pseudoscience, or some said it's like a folk statistics. But basically it's like palm reading for faces.
yeah.
But it's also, but now I'm looking at this two discipline. One, it's like seemingly high tech and accurate. The other, it's more like esoteric practice, and people what do you call it? Like they dismissed it as superstition or like it's like astrology. Like people believe it. People don't, they don't. And I find it very interesting because facial recognition can just be as irrational as face reading. So I'm just like looking at these two practices, both about faces, both about dots. One is about facial landmarks. Face reading is about sometimes it's about moles. Like what does this mole mean?
Oh,
What does it tell about your future? And then just kind of looking at the history and telling a story about how technology can be magical and magic can be kind of spoken about in a technological language or communicated in a technological language. So again, it's like a photographic image studies kind of thing,
yeah, yeah.
looking at diagrams, looking at photographs, and what do they mean? Why do people make these images? And then try to build a narrative around them. I really feel like we are living in a technological medieval time. Like I think things are getting backwards a little bit, as in, well, black box algorithms for sure. Like we're using something that we don't exactly know the logic or the reasoning behind it.
No.
So we're just trusting something, which is, in a way, there's a mathematical base and statistical base to it. But on top of that, or underneath that, there's this belief of that data will lead us to some, or data sets or large scale computation will lead us to something that is true that we don't know, which is a kind of faith in a way.
Yeah.
And I say, if that's a faith, face reading is a faith of like how the way of nature manifests on your face. So what? Let's deconstruct them. Let's peel these part off and look at what the faith is and whether they're actually kind of universal or maybe not. Maybe they're not universal, but maybe they function similarly. Maybe.
I mean, probably they do because it's all constructed by the human mind, which is kind of, it has the same logic in
Yeah.
any field. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I say like the same thing with photography as well. Like people used to trust photography as the medium of the truth and that it's it has a documentary value. Like I take this picture, hence I experience it and I'm using this photo to tell you that I saw this. And then hence it's part of the reality. I mean, this is a very kind of naive belief now, but photography, the relationship between why I look at a photograph and believe that it is has something to do with the real world is also a belief. It's also a faith to the medium, to an image. Like why do I trust a photograph more than a painting when they're both telling maybe a story about maybe labor, like realist painting and photography.
But I think that like people trust paintings before times of photography. They do trust
Yes,
how things
yes,
were.
exactly. So like how like photography kind of take over, well, the burden of representation or whatever,
Yeah.
and and then painting is freed up to do other stuff. And then now with data sets, with computer vision, is that happening in a similar way? And how is that different from the previous kind of exchange of like the burden of representation? I think that might be like very not for that somehow for me it's very central to photography. Like a central theme in photography is this is like why does this image, any image, have any connection to what we're experiencing. But maybe for some photographer, it's like very kind of up there and not relevant. But for me, it's very relevant, as in, I guess as artists as well, like what images does.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I've been very interested in images myself. Maybe because I also studied photography at some point. But I get what you're saying, and it's. I mean, people have been thinking about the image generally for at least half a century, even more. So yeah, it makes sense. Absolutely.